You're watching the press release for a postmodern rom-com. So thank you for coming. Essentially, P.S. I Love You isn't working for me. So I have decided to rewrite it as if it was written by a 22-year-old hysterical girl woman, because I'm tired of Hollywood telling me how to live and how to love and how to dress and when to cry. I'm doing this out of the content of my study in Northamptonshire because we're in effective quarantine right now. But actually we're in New York or Ireland, somewhere in between the space between my body and your body and a computer screen, mediated by YouTube, because that's where I'm streaming this. It's 2007. Tony Blair is the Prime Minister, maybe Gordon Brown. We're coming towards the end of New Labour. Britney Spears is going through a difficult time, and Avril Lavigne has just released her lead single, Girlfriend. The headline is that I'm rewriting the rom-com because I couldn't see past this kind of golden movie filter, and I couldn't see myself in it. I watched it sometime last year when I was feeling miserable, and because I'd read some Google reviews that said that P.S. I Love You would make me cry. Now, I don't cry very often, perhaps because I'm a bit emotionally suppressed, and perhaps because as a woman I've been socially conditioned to believe that if I show any excess of emotion, then no one will ever take me seriously. P.S. I Love You made me feel kind of worse than crying, like it was laughing at me for being too swotty or too frigid or too intense to ever be found attractive by what Hollywood deemed as the mainstream. It felt so stuck in these outdated gender roles and with such a heavy reliance on the power structures that reinforces them. It made me want to sort of reach into the movie and see if I can do it differently. So I am. The romantic comedy is a kind of blank canvas onto which I'm projecting this clusterfuck of emotion and frustration and excess and repetition. I'm playing a version of myself, the excessive hysterical one, and I'm also playing abstract recreations of the characters from the film. I'm worried that in doing this, the work will become hugely self-indulgent, but I also think it's more important than ever now to make work that connects us, especially as women, when the right to make work about our bodies and our emotional responses has so often been infringed by a patriarchal attitude that means that they're cast as abject or too much. I think I'm doing this because making space for yourself to be excessive and imperfect and a little bit insensible is really, really important. It's like reclaiming the part of us that we're told is too much. Ultimately, I'm doing this because I'm tired of feeling raised by the men in my brain. And I want to make something that I can share, something that creates and duplicates across our streams and bodies and our Netflix accounts. The postmodern rom-com is about the motifs and movements of intimacy. And what happens if love isn't in a letter or in a glance across the room, but encapsulated in a wider system of affection and corruption that's woven throughout the everyday. It's excessive and it's a bit intense because maybe that's what falling in love feels like. And it's also a lot about frustration and nonsense and feeling numb and hysterical because maybe that's what falling feels like too. I want to fall in love with falling in love, and I want to do it on my own terms. So I've rewritten the rom-com, but this time it's personal. The postmodern rom-com, P.S. I Love You, P.S. Was that as good for you as it was for me, is currently airing as a mini-series of live performances and readings on this channel for the next few Thursday evenings. Episode 1 aired at 6:30 p.m. BST last Thursday, But from next Thursday, the remaining episodes will air at 9 p.m. BST. This feels like a slightly more intimate time to be able to share something. It's kind of a time when you can be alone if you want to be, and kind of comforted if you need to be. I'm also going to be running a series of rewriting groups after each episode via a shared Google Doc form, which is going to be in the description of each episode. And the idea behind that is to build something on top of the live streams that we can create together, more like a collective series of portraits, rather than watching a piece of live theatre. So if that's something you'd like to do, then watch this space. Come back at 9 p.m. next Thursday, where I'll be doing a live stream of episode 2 and then a rom-com rewriting group. This has been a press release for Postmodern Rom-Com. Thank you and good night.